Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of my videos, and today I wanted to showcase some of these amazing checkmates from a player that you may have never heard of. He goes by the name Joseph Henry Blackburne, or as he was also known in the 19th century, the Black Death. And you're going to see why he was called the Black Death with these truly cruel and evil checkmates that he is able to deliver on his opponents. So we're going to have a look at 15 of his greatest checkmates, or what I consider his greatest checkmates, some of which are against world champions, some of which are just against normal amateurs like you and I. So let's take a look. This first one I bring to you comes from 1862. This was actually a blindfold simultaneous. Now, what's really interesting about Joseph Henry Blackburne is he learnt to play chess when he was about 17, 18 years old, so much older than most chess players would normally learn to play. I imagine most of my viewers here have probably learnt it when they were maybe at primary school. For me personally, I learnt it when I was about 8 years old. So let me know in the comments, let me know how old you were when you learnt to play chess. Anyway, back to this. So he's 18 years old, he sees Paul Morphy come over to Europe and deliver some amazing exhibitions beating the world's best players, and he sees this and he goes, hey, I could be just like this guy. I think I'm going to take up chess, and he does. And okay, Paul Morphy comes over to Europe in 1958. 4 years later, Joseph Henry Blackburne is probably one of the best players at the time and is delivering blindfold simultaneous. What a talent this guy truly was. Okay, so 1862, he's playing against an anonymous person called W. Hamilton. In this position, quite an easy little one to hopefully try and solve. We have got lots of nice pieces all surrounding the Black King. The main feature in this position is this bishop because it's pinning this pawn. That's why the solution to this one is very nice. Little cute checkmate in two. Starts off with queen to g6 with check. King goes to h8 and we can deliver checkmate on h7. There's nothing else really that black can do. If he tries to block it with a knight or a bishop, we can still deliver checkmate on h2. I like this one because it exploits the pin that was put against this pawn, so this queen is able to deliver this very nice checkmate. Let's have a look at some more. But before I go into the next puzzle, I just want to remind you, make sure you leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. I don't know if you knew this is how many of you subscribe to my channel. So yeah, not very good. I would actually consider that to be a blunder that you haven't subscribed yet. Anyway, I hope to see your subscription soon. Okay, and this is a game that was played against Adolf Anderssen. Now, if you don't know who Adolf Anderssen is, he was one of the best players during the 19th century, during the Romantic period of chess, and he has his own amazing collection of some brilliant games. Probably considered, before Morphy then arrived to then beat him up in a match, at the time he was probably considered the strongest chess player in all of Europe. And well, we have here a position where it's actually Anderssen gets totally bamboozled by all of Joseph Henry's tactics. Now, just before this game had even started, they had actually decided to play what is known as the Museo Gambit in the King's Gambits, a Museo Gambit variation, I should say. And you can see here, just from the material count, that Joseph Henry Blackburne is down here 5 points in material. You whack this in an engine, Joseph Henry isn't doing very well either. But let's see how he manages to continue this attack. He first decides to play a very powerful move. The move rook takes here on f6. A really nice move. The simple reason for this is if this bishop were to ever capture, then we've got this very nice fork on the queen and the king. So clearly black doesn't want to go into that. Here Anderssen finds a pretty good response to this. He plays the move queen to d7, getting out of the way of any of these problems. Another move that was also worth considering was maybe the move king to g8. And there's an interesting line that continues here. You notice that actually white hasn't really got any attacks now. This threat of this potential fork is now out of the window. So he might want to try and reroute his knight over to e2 to maybe join in the attack. But here black can start defending quite well. Play moves like f6. and start pushing white's pieces back into a retreat. At this position, black's probably doing fine. He'll be looking to maybe exchange off the queens in just a moment. Going back to the actual game, Anderson plays queen to d7. He had this idea of maybe putting his queen onto g4, where he could maybe exchange off his queens, slowing down Blackburne's attack. Rook to h6, a really nice move here. Clearly, if this bishop were to capture, this won't work, as we can either just take here with the queen, and then we're threatening this very nasty mating attack. So black clearly didn't want to do this. Here he tried to exchange off these queens, but it was no good, as now the rook captured on h7 with check, king to g8, takes here on g7 with check, and after the king runs here, we now have queen to h6 check, and bishop to f6, and there's no stopping this mating threat on h8. In fact, black would have to sacrifice his own queen just to stop this mating attack, and you would still be losing anyway as black. So another very nice win against a very strong player. Okay, here we have another position. This was actually against an anonymous player in 1863, and you're going to see a truly spectacular combination here delivered by Joseph Henry Blackburne. So in this position, white comes up with the amazing move rook to d7 check. And what we're going to find is this king is going to suddenly go on a very long pilgrimage. So the purpose of this is now to deflect this bishop away from this f7 square. After this bishop moves away, we can now get our queen to f7 with check. The king tries to run to d6. We now throw in another check just very quickly. If the king goes to d8, this is definitely not very good. We're just going to be checkmating on d7. So the king runs to d6. There's another check that comes in, and after c5, bishop to e3, king to b4, and then queen to b7. This king goes to a5. Interestingly enough, at this point, Blackburne announces there is a checkmate in only 3 moves. Really spectacular here. We're going to see why that is the case. So with this king all the way over here and white's pieces all surrounding the black king, it's no wonder that there's a checkmate on the horizon, but he does it in a truly spectacular fashion. Here, white plays the move b4 with check. The only legal move in this position is to capture with our bishop, and now bishop to b6, very nice move, because after a takes on b6, you will notice that this has actually cut off a lot of the escape squares for the black king, and here Blackburne is able to deliver a very satisfying checkmate with the move queen takes on a8 checkmate. What a nice combination. I hope you liked that one. Okay, we move on to the next amazing mating attack. This one comes from 1863. It was against a player known as Alexander Sternkuhner. Joseph Henry Blackburne was playing black here and was able to deliver a very nice and satisfying checkmate here. So see if you can solve it. Black to move and to checkmate. Okay, so here is all to do with the fact that black's pieces are surrounding the white king here, and here he finds a very stunning checkmate with the move queen to g8 with check. Now there's only one legal move in this position, that has to be this rook to g1. After this knight gives a check on f2, the king has to come to g2, and then the beautiful finish here is bishop to h3 checkmate. I love this. The rook is defending this knight is defending this bishop, and this bishop is attacking the king and also hitting this f1 square. There is no hope for this white king in this position. A really nice checkmate. Let's have a look at the next one. Okay, we fast forward a little bit to 1871. This is another game that Joseph Henry Blackburne played against an anonymous player. So here, black, as you can see, has got all of his pieces surrounding the white king. But it looks as though white has got enough defenders to maybe hold this position. Well, we're going to see a truly spectacular move now. Here, black decides to play the move queen to g2 with check. Now you might be surprised by this. Well, surely this white rook will just capture. What's the big idea? Well, here black can deliver a checkmate with the move knight to h3. A very nice checkmating solution, that one. Okay, so we look now at another game. This is from 1880 again against an anonymous player. This is probably my favourite Joseph Henry Blackburne position that has been played before. So this is a truly spectacular move that Black comes up with. Once again, you can see that Black has got a lot of pieces surrounding the White King, and White has only got this Rook in defending here. There's a bit of a problem for Black. He's starting to run out of resources. You can see that this Queen actually captured a Rook over here, and in actual fact Blackburne is down 3 points in material. He would love to get maybe some of his other pieces into the attack, but it's a little bit tricky to do that. But here he comes up with something truly spectacular to be able to win this game. I'll give you a little bit of time to try and solve this. See if you can solve it. It's a really lovely checkmate. Okay, so the move here to start off this particular combination is the move bishop to f5, a truly spectacular move. Here Black is just threatening to come and take this pawn, but you might be wondering yourself, well, hold on a minute, why can't I just take this bishop? Well, this is probably actually White's best option, but the problem with this is it loses a queen. So Blackburne would have been very happy with this situation and would have been ahead in this game now. So of course his opponent wasn't satisfied with that whatsoever. Well, hang on a minute, by playing this bishop here, aren't you giving me this rook? So of course his opponent takes here on a8. What's the harm in doing that? I'm up 8 points in material. Well, here is where the combination now begins. Queen takes on h3 with check. Only one legal move here. G takes on h3, and now we can deliver checkmate. Bishop takes on e4, checkmate. These two bishops, this knight, all working together to deliver a checkmate, despite the fact that Black is down 15 points in material. I really like this one. I hope you like this one just as much as I did. Okay, so we're now looking at another game. This is Joseph Henry Blackburne against Jacques Schwartz in 1881. In this position, Black plays a mistake here by putting the White King into check. What could be so wrong in doing such a thing? Well, we're now going to see another very spectacular combination, all to do with the fact, once again, all of these pieces working together to be able to deliver checkmate. So here White now sacrifices his queen on f4, bishop takes on f4, and now rook takes on h5. A really nice move, breaking open the Black position and then looking just to simply checkmate here on h8. Well, g takes on h5, but it doesn't matter. The rook comes to h5, and would you believe it, there is nothing Black can do about this threat. If you want to try and prolong mate, here's a few engine moves that Black can play. Ridiculous things like bishop to h6, just holds it just for a brief second. Queen to h2, you take here, and if this pawn then drops, well, it doesn't matter. Rook to h8, checkmate. A very nice mating attack from Joseph Henry. So we've been only merely scratching the surface of Joseph Henry Blackburne's amazing brilliance. We've looked at a lot of games where he's beaten up a lot of anonymous players, and well, in the game that he played against Anderson, that was actually a casual game, so it probably didn't really even count. But here we have a world champion. Wilhelm Steinitz, the first world champion. Joseph Henry Blackburne didn't have a very good record against him, and also Manuel Lasky was a very poor record, but this is one of the games where he is able to defeat this world champion. In this position, White has a very stunning move. See if you can find it to be able to win this game. Okay, so here White plays the move rook to f8 with check. Only one forcing move here. You have to play queen takes on f8. And now after this, queen takes on h8. A very nice deflection tactic for moving the queen away from the defence on h7 and blocking the king's exit. Very nice, mate. Okay, so here we've got another beautiful combination from Joseph Henry Blackburne here. This was a position where he managed to find a checkmate in 10 moves. Well, you might be thinking, I can never find this checkmate in 10, but just try and find some of the first few moves and then see if you can find the really tricky move on move 7 to be able to find this particular solution. Okay, so what's going on in this position? Well, white has got lots of pieces attacking the black king. He is threatening to deliver some form of double check with this knight and this queen working in combination. That said, he is down materially. He's down 5 points materially. Black, in fact, just captured here on d2, which was actually the key blunder as it allows white to deliver this combination. So the combination starts with the move f takes on h7, and in this position black plays king to e8. Just going back for a second, if black does something else here, if let's say he moves his king to g8, this obviously fails to f7, and if the king goes and runs up to g7 in this position, queen to f6 with check, and after the king goes to g8 you can still deliver checkmate on f7. So king to e8, here now the queen checks on f7, the king has to run, there's another check with the knight, the king has to run again, and this is the tricky bit in this position. You've got this far, you've got this beautiful attack on the black king. How do you continue it? Well, in this position, a very nice quiet move now is needed, and that is the move rook a to b1. I like this idea. The point of this being is it now blocks off this exit point for the king to maybe run all the way to here and then maybe somehow survive this position. So here, moves like knight takes on b1 don't work, as now white has got a very nice mating idea. It starts with the move queen to h4 check, and after the bishop blocks you can throw in another check with d5. After the knight takes you take with the pawn, and after the king runs to b6 you just throw in a check, and well, it is curtains for black. Black puts up a bit of a resistance, but he eventually ends up getting checkmated. So that move doesn't work. So instead, what does black try to do here? Well, he realizes that these pawns are quite important to this attack, so he decides to snap off one of them with his bishop, but it didn't matter, as now this rook comes into play on c1 with check, bishop to c5 blocking it momentarily, and now we've got the cherry on the top of this beautiful combination with this bishop now blocking this axis. Well, white decides to play queen to d5 check. I love this move, as now knight captures, e takes on d5 checkmate. Oh, lovely checkmate with the pawn, this knight blocking this square, this knight defending here, and of course this rook defending these squares. A beautiful mating attack from Joseph Henry Blackburne. Okay, so here we have another position. This is against Henry Bird, very famous player, very strong player from the 19th century, one of the strongest English players at the time. You probably know him as the guy who invented the bird's opening, and he actually plays the bird's opening in this particular game. But here he gets totally crushed in about 17 moves against Joseph Henry Blackburne in this position. But we need to find the right way to attack here, as it's not quite clear how black goes about and does that. If he maybe thinks about taking with the bishop here, this queen can jump into the defense of the position, and white should be able to hold here. Bear in mind he's actually up a pawn in this position, so taking here you'd be even up a bishop as well. So stuff like that doesn't work, but we need to find a really cunning way to block the communication between the queen and the pawn. That's my little hint to you. So try and see if you can find a move that does that. Okay, so the move here is very nice. It is the move rook to f3. A really beautiful interference idea here. The point being, as if this queen were to capture here, we can just take here, and this is absolutely fine for black. We're winning really easily. But other moves don't work in this position. If you take with the knights, there's a simple checkmate here of just taking here on g3. This is checkmate, and going back. Other moves don't work in this position. If you take with the pawn, another idea, again you have checkmate here on g3. A really nice interference sacrifice to be able to win this position. Okay, so now we're going to be stepping up once again another gear. This is another game that he played in 1889. This was part of the New York Chess Congress, the actually 6th American Chess Congress. And well, for some reason, Joseph Henry Blackburne had been invited to this particular Congress, and he did quite well. I think he came 4th in this particular competition. So in this position, there was actually a move that was sealed just a move before this, where White ended up pushing his pawn forward to start and initiate this beautiful attack. So in this position, it's now White to play. Can you find the stunning combination that he played against his opponent Samuel Lipschutz? Okay, so this is a really difficult one, so don't be ashamed if you don't get it. The first move here is a very nice forcing move. It's rook takes on g7, and well, it's pretty much forced to take here to take on g7. After knight to h5, which is the next key move here, and rook takes on h5, we actually can now have a very easy checkmate in a few moves using our queen, our rook, and this pawn here. So now queen to h7 with check. Okay, what does black have to do here? Well, you can only really delay the mate, so things like bishop to d7 to block it, queen takes, and after the king comes to f6 to try and get out the way, it doesn't matter. This king is going to have to go back in front of the pawn as he's got no way of accessing going forward. If he goes here, of course, this falls into a checkmate. So he has to go back in front of the pawn. Now another check flies in, rook to f7, blocking again, queen takes on f7, and after the king comes to h8, we can deliver a checkmate on h7. A really nice combination there. Going back just a minute, just to have a look at one other variation. If here, let's say, after this move, let's say the king goes to g8 instead of the rook captures, one other line that's also interesting is just playing c7 anyway. It doesn't matter what black does in this position, we're still going to be delivering checkmate. So if he tries to block it with a few rooks, maybe sacrificing a few bits of material, here we have a nice continuation. G takes on f7. This has a discovered check, in fact a double check against the black king. The black king has to run to h7. We throw in another check. The king has to go to h8, and we can deliver a very satisfying mate with a pawn promotion on g8. Very, very nice. Let's have a look at some more. Okay, so this one is from 1891. This was against a player, anonymous player called Blanchard. It has a nice attack on the black king here. You'll notice all of White's pieces are really well coordinated, and I guess this is a big feature of Blackburne's play. He liked to have all his pieces coordinating really well to deliver big mating attacks, and well, this position is no exception. So here he decides to sacrifice his bishop on h6, g takes on h6, queen takes on h6, and it does not matter what black does here. He is going to get beaten. In the game, black played knight to g6. Interestingly, I want to quickly look at what happens after f5, which is another move to try and block the diagonal of this bishop. Well, bishop takes on f5, bishop takes on f5, and then knight to g5. It does not matter what black does in this position, he is going to get beaten pretty quickly. I guess the best move here for black would be a move such as f6, maybe trying to attack this knight and kick it away, but we can just take with the rook, and it doesn't matter what black does in this position, we are going to be quickly mating black very, very quickly. So going back to this position, instead black played a knight to g6, and here white was able to deliver a very easy checkmating attack with knight to g5, threatening just to come to h7. The rook runs to h8, giving a bit of breathing room for the black king. It didn't matter, white threw in the check anyway. The king tried to get to f8 thinking, oh brilliant, I can run along here, but oh no, this rook comes crashing in on f7. The party's been ruined, as now after bishop takes on f7, we can deliver checkmate on f7 with our queen. A very nice mating attack. Okay, this is another position. This was a exhibition game against a player known as a Muller in 1894. Okay, so in this position, black decided to take this knight here on g5. And after this, white had a very nice attack against the black king. It's interesting though about this combination is in actual fact it doesn't quite work, as black did have one saving move to get out of this particular combination. But we'll have a look at it anyway because I think the attack's still quite interesting. So here, bishop takes on h7, king takes on h7. There was h takes on g5 with check. The king ran to g8, and here Blackburne played a big mistake here. He played the move rook to h8 with check. But the problem with this is now what black should have done is move his king to f7, and then he can run him away and it's okay. You know, black lives to fight on another day, and he's up 4 points in material. In the game though, well, black got a bit greedy and he thought, ooh, I like the look of that rook. He takes the rook on h8. Oh dear. So now this fails to queen to h5 with check. The king comes to g8 and now g6, sealing the fate of this black king. There is nothing that he can do in this position. Black tries to wriggle for a couple moves with rook to f5 to maybe hit the queen. Who knows? Maybe Blackburne will blunder here. But queen to h7 with check. The king runs to f8 and then checkmate on h8. A very nice, satisfying mating attack. Okay, so we're now going to be moving on to the big boys again. This is 1899. Joseph Henry Blackburne, I believe, was in his, I think, his 60s or his late 50s at this point, against Emanuel Lasker, world champion. And I believe he has just become world champion at this point, Emanuel Lasker. So how does Blackburne defeat a world champion? Well, you've got to come up with some amazing moves, and this one is truly spectacular. So here, in this position, black's got a lot of pieces. Once again, he'd really like to get his pieces to swarm around the white king, and then he was able to deliver these beautiful checkmating attacks. So if you want to improve your chess, just get all your pieces to attack the king, and then you should be fine. You should be able to win, just like Blackburne. Okay, so let's have a look at this. In this position, black comes up with a truly spectacular move to start this very satisfying combination. So it starts with the move rook to h1 with check, king takes on h8, then bishop takes on g3. We are now threatening to come to f2 with our knight forking not only the king but also this queen here on d1. Well, what else is white to do in this position? In the actual game, he decides to just take this bishop and allow this fork. But better here, well, I say better, it's not better at all, but what white could have played, and it would have been a terrible position because it would have led to a checkmate in 2, is the move f takes on g4. After this, queen to h4 check, king to g1, and then checkmate can be delivered on f2. Ooh, very nice. So in the actual game, Lasker decides, oh, do you know what? I'm going to lose this position now, but I'll try and see what I can do. He takes here on g3, knight comes to f2 with check, king to g1, and then he takes here. Blackburne is up 3 points in material. The game actually went on for another 15 moves or so, but Blackburne was able to easily convert his advantage and defeat the young new world champion in the process. Well, I hope you enjoyed all of these amazing puzzles. I want to leave you with this fun little puzzle for you. Hopefully nice and simple. We've had some really difficult combinations. This one's a little bit easier. So this was a game, this was actually the final game from Joseph Henry Blackburne, played in 1916. It was a consultation game, so Henry Blackburne was actually playing against 2 players simultaneously. So in this position, it is white to move, find the best move. I'm not going to tell you the solution to this one though. You need to tell me in the comments. So let me know what is the solution to this one. And also, if you liked this video, Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to see some more stunning puzzles like this one. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you soon. Take care, bye.